Hello YouTube viewers and welcome to my channel, What Chain Gang. Hello guys. Not just playing. What's going on, y'all? So I am back with another video. And I do not, well, I have some titles down, but I don't have like a definite title, so I'm going to leave the title out for now. But what this video is pretty much going to be about is how I pretty much came to the point to where I'm at now in life, which is relocating to a different state. And I'm pretty much give y'all the background as to why that came about and everything that went down during the process of this move. Okay, so let's rewind. Sound like somebody at the door. Let's rewind. So back in 2020, when I initially started my YouTube channel, my very first YouTube video, I pretty much talked about how God blessed me with the apartment that I was previously staying in, which it was an apartment home. I had upstairs, downstairs. It wasn't none downstairs but a closet and a door, but I had like stairs going up to the top level. It was like a townhouse type of feel, my own washer and dryer, storage on the balcony, garage, all that, right? So I started this YouTube channel, right? And I was pretty much following my calling then, right? Which was me dying to my flesh, attempting that time to die to my flesh and pretty much follow whatever calling God had for me in that at that time, which again, this was in 2020. So 2021 rolls around, right? And I had did a fast actually around March of 2021, at the end of March, and well, the whole month of March actually I had did a fast. And the fast was pretty much for me to receive an answer as to if God wanted me to like leave my job at that time or whatever. And so God had placed an idea to start a cleaning business. Pretty much he gave me the idea to start a cleaning business. And so I had already registered that stuff in like 2020, in February of 2020, before COVID had happened. And I just never had stepped into it because I was scared to leave my job. Okay. I was like, Lord, at the time I was working at FedEx. So I'm like, look, I'm making some good money here. I'm not trying to leave. You know what I'm saying? I was a delivery driver. For those of y'all who aren't new to this channel, y'all know that my previous videos, I used to have my FedEx uniform on in my truck making videos. So I didn't want to leave my job. Okay. Because I'm like, Lord, I need a job. Like, you know what I'm saying? That was my mindset at that time. But I never was comfortable working a job. I'm the type of person who don't like to follow rules. Like, I go against the grain type of person. You know what I'm saying? And working jobs, it's like people feel like, you know, they own you. And I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that. And if you die tomorrow, your job ain't even going to care. They're going to replace you just like that. They ain't even going to come to your funeral, let alone send remarks. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, it's neither here nor there. So I ended up doing this fast. And around this particular time in 2020, going into 2021, I was practicing abstinence. Okay. I was not having sex. And like I said, I was taking my cross up then and pretty much putting God first and trying to die to my flesh and all of that. And that's again when I initially started this channel. And so March, at the end of March of 2021, there was a specific ex that I was dealing with that came back into the picture. Now, I had blocked this dude. I've been knowing him for a long time, though. I've been knowing him since like 7th grade type, before I even lost my virginity. But like, I've had like this strong soul tie to this specific guy. And around this time I was practicing abstinence, it had almost been probably about 8 months or so. And I had cut this guy off before I had even moved out to this particular new place, because I had moved from Chicago to the burbs. So before I moved to the burbs, I had already cut this guy off and stopped having sex or whatever. And so around March of 2021, he pretty much sent me, because he was blocked. So he emailed me. He knew my email address. He had ended up emailing me. It pretty much sent like this heartfelt message about how, you know, bringing up the past and stuff, you know, trying to pretty much reel me back in. And it worked, because I'm gonna just be honest. Like, I'm not the type of person to have sex with multiple people, especially not at one time. And I don't mind being in a relationship. I don't mind being locked down to one guy. Like, I've always been that way. And so, but I love sex. Like, sex is one of my biggest sins that I struggle with. Like, sex is great. You know what I'm saying? God designed sex, but not the way that we be using sex. You know what I'm saying? It's for people that is supposed to be in a union together and be married, not to just be having sex with Tom, Dick, and Harry, Sally, Lou, and Saint, and Susie. Okay? So, this particular dude had reached out, and this type of guy, he'll do anything I want. So, whatever I want, he getting it type. You know what I'm saying? And although I'm not that type of female, I did used to take advantage of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you know, you want to buy me this, you want to buy me that, fine. That's up to you. I'm not, you know, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. And so I let this particular guy back in literally a couple of days before my fast had ended, and had sex with him. And when I had sex with him, I think I had cut him right back off. Because, yes, I did. So this was 2021. So March 2021, I had sex with him, saying he was pretty much still on the same thing, which he was a liar. And he used to try to make it seem like he wanted to be with me, but then he'll be lying about dealing with other people. And it's like, bro, I'm not stupid. What you're not finna do is get nothing past me, because I'm a whole Inspector Gadget, okay? And so when I found out he was lying still, I was like, yeah, bro, let me go and cut you off. So I ended up opening the door, having sex, but I closed it right back. Okay? And then after I closed that door, I ended up going down the rabbit hole after that. So now, boom, I'm back into my fleshly desires. Now I want sex. I ended up dealing with another ex. Not right back to back, but eventually after I had cut that particular ex off. And that lasted for probably like a month or so. Like, it was probably like often within a month. Not often, let me not over exaggerate it. Probably like 2 months I was dealing with this particular person, and I was like, yeah, I'm finna cut this person off too, because like I said, at heart, I want to be married. I want to be in a relationship. I don't want to just be having sex with anybody, and then God forbid something happens, you slip up, get pregnant, you know what I'm saying, condom or not, and then now you got a baby out of wedlock with a person that you don't even want to be with, or that you realize this is somebody that you can't be with. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up cutting this person off as well. And then I pretty much was like, you know, at that point, I was like, I'm trying to say it. Y'all, forgive me. So at that point, I was not trying to hear God. Now, don't get me wrong. I was still saying my grace over my food. I was still praying at night. Like, it wasn't that I was not acknowledging God at all, but I wasn't trying to do this. I was lukewarm. Let's just put it like that. I was a lukewarm believer. Okay. So I cut my ex off, and I just stopped having sex again. I just stopped having sex. So this was like around, this is after I had sex with the other ex. So this was like around I want to say April or May. Before May, I had stopped dealing with the guy. And at that point, I was just like, okay, I'm just finna stop having sex because I already know how I can get, and when I get it, I want it, and when I can't get it, I'm mad. Okay, I want it when I want it, and so I had to start praying, asking God to pretty much help me and deliver me from that lustful spirit because, baby, I was struggling, I was battling. Okay, and so I left my job. Okay, so I did the fast, whatever. I got confirmation to start the cleaning business. Well, not to start it, but to actually start operating in it because I had already registered. The cleaning business had been registered for 1.5 years at this point. And so I ended up going to this restaurant, and God pretty much used a stranger to come in. She was picking up an order. I went out to breakfast with God. Like, it was a breakfast day with me and God. He told me to go to this particular place, went there, and I was sitting there looking over the menu, and this lady came in speaking like overly loud, and I overheard her talking about how, oh yeah, the guy was like, where have you been? And she's like, oh, I started a cleaning business. And I just started laughing because I'm like, Lord, she sent me to this restaurant so this lady could come in here and I could overhear her, to pretty much give me that confidence to just jump out and do it. And so, anyways, I ended up giving my boss a 2-week notice in March. And again, I was still kind of wavering because I'm like, okay, God, let me know for sure if this is what you want me to do. But I had already let my boss know that I was going to leave. And so I left my job. I gave him an exit date of April 1st, which was April Fool's, okay? And so he allowed me to leave sooner. He was like, oh, you don't gotta wait till April 1st. You can leave March 27th. And he still ended up paying me for those days that I did not come. So he ended up giving me a full check, even though I did not stay to the end of the month. And so that was a blessing. And so I ended up leaving my job, and I didn't start the cleaning business right away. Like, I was looking for clients, but then I want to say a month later, like for a whole month, I was pretty much out here living my best life. I wasn't trying to work. I was just pretty much trying to get that free time because I was so used to working at FedEx. I was at FedEx for almost, I want to say about 5 years or so. And so when I was working at FedEx, I was just so used to having these long days. Like, I couldn't really enjoy keeping my nails done because it was a very physical job. You know what I'm saying? So I'm breaking nails, hands rough. So at this particular time, I was getting into my soft girl era. So I'm like, okay, let me go and get myself together. I want to stay pretty, keep my hair done, hair braided, this and that, because, you know, I was always sweating and stuff at FedEx. So, like, I ain't even care to keep my hair done half the time because it's like it wouldn't even last. Because, like, I would even have to wrap it up. And some days I don't want to go to work with my hair wrapped up. I want it to be cute at work. You feel me? You never know who you're going to cross. And so I ended up pretty much living my best life for about a month or so. And then I started looking for clients. And more of the story, I did the cleaning business for probably a couple of months. I had people inquiring, but they wasn't really going through with it. People on Facebook reaching out, talking out the side of their neck, but really wasn't trying to do no business. Like, people just being nosy or whatever. And so I walked away from it because the way that I am, if something ain't working out how I saw fit, baby, I'm gonna drop it and I'm gonna go on to the next thing because I don't got time. I don't have patience, rather. And so that's a blessing and a curse at the same time because I need humbleness. Like, and God been really speaking to me about being humble because, like, I want to be successful in entrepreneurship, but the way my mind is set up, like, I don't like having to ask people for anything, let alone convince them to buy my services or buy my product, because people is a mess. Like, people is something else. And so I'm learning that I can adapt, and I love to talk, and I think I'm quite funny also. But I really don't like people. And I'm starting to realize that. And I be like, Lord, well, let me not say I don't like people. I don't like ignorant people. And people really easily can bring the ignorance out of me. And I'm learning that. I've been through that, but in this walk, even now, every day I'll be like, Lord, please help me, because the moment somebody rub me the wrong way or think they finna play with me, I just literally it's like I just black out. And it's like, bro, like, nah, this ain't that. Because I revert back real quick. And so God is really working on me with that. So y'all be on me. I be trying to stay off social media. I do be posting and stuff, but social media is a huge distraction. A lot of temptation there. When I say temptation, I don't mean like sexual temptation. I mean like just to indulge in the wrong things. You know what I'm saying? You got to protect your ears, your eyes, all of that, because man, it'll keep you in bondage. It'll keep you in darkness. It'll keep you in messiness. Like, social media is something else. It is. But anyways, so the cleaning business didn't last long because I didn't have the patience. I wasn't finna beg nobody to buy my services. I wasn't finna keep promoting stuff when y'all seen it already. If you want it, you want it. And so again, God is working on me with that, but that's neither here nor there. So boom, this was like around the summertime. I walked away from the cleaning business. So from there, I started doing Uber again. So I have been doing Uber since 2015, but I picked Uber back up. And so I was doing Uber and other independent contracting apps like Shipt, grocery store shopping, and stuff like that. And so that's how, I'm sorry. And so that's how I was pretty much allowing my ends to meet. So fast forward later on in 2021, I met a new guy. Now this ain't no ex or none of that. I met this new guy. And it was actually, I met him in my city, but it was a long distance situation. This guy did not live in Chicago. He lived out of town. And I dealt with him from pretty much 2021 up until the very early part of 2024. So last time I had any type of sexual interaction was, I want to say, around Thanksgiving of 2023. Okay, and so I completely surrendered myself to God again around the end of October, when everything pretty much started falling apart for me. Okay, so from 2021 all the way up until 2024, I had been, well, because like, yeah. So I had pretty much been dealing with this guy this whole time. And so just to fast forward, I was flying out of town like I was a rich woman. Do you hear what I'm saying? Like, when I tell you I was going to see this guy so much, and when he was coming to my city, I was seeing him as well. I was even taking road trips, honey. Like, this particular person had me in a whole chokehold, okay? Like, in love, head over heels. Like, God who? I mean, I still was acknowledging God, but like, God had gave me so many warnings to leave this particular person alone. Not because he was a bad person, because let me not put dirt on his name. He's a very great person. But in the way that we were entertaining each other, it was deterring me, and it was pulling me further away from God, okay? And so many times God would tell me, like, you need to leave this person alone, you need to leave this person alone, because again, I was like heavy in lust, you know what I'm saying, entertaining sex. It was bad. Like, it was to the point, especially with this particular person being long distance, where I was sending nudes. He's sending me stuff, I'm sending him stuff, and I don't even do stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna say I haven't tried it before in the past when I was like younger, but I don't normally send pictures and videos because it's like this person could literally put your business in the streets. They could put you on social media, make a whole freaking OnlyFans in this time, because you know now we got OnlyFans. I'm not even thinking about none of that. I ain't even caring. I'm like, man, listen, I'm finna send this picture and I'm finna send this video. Open sesame, okay? Let the world see. At least my body ain't bogus. At least, you know, I don't even care. Like, I didn't care. When I tell you this particular person had me heavy in lust. Now, again, I had issues with lust before I met this person. But it was just like, it was no, like, no limits with this person. Like, I didn't even care. Like I said, I was in love. I mean, I still love him. But I was like going down a rabbit hole. Okay. So boom, I'm steady hearing God tell me, like, you need to leave this person alone. I had been prophesied over when I went to my auntie's church by people who didn't even know me, like pastors. Like, yeah, God got somebody great for you. Like, without them even knowing I was dealing with this particular person, this man literally came and spoke over me. I was like, God has somebody for you. Like, God has a husband for you. And I'm looking like, oh, okay. But that pastor knew. God told that man to speak to me, to let me know, like, walk away. And so anyways, I still didn't walk away at that particular time. And so when I was dealing with this guy, I was like super toxic. You know what I'm saying? When I say toxic, I mean, in the beginning, everything was cool. You know what I'm saying? Everything was great, actually. And we were seeing each other like very often for us to be long distance, like a couple of times a month. And so it was a time where I feel like he was being dishonest about something. And so I ghosted him. And so after I did that, the trajectory changed. Like, I got a whole nother version of him. And so I was literally battling and fighting up against this new version of him after I caught myself trying to ghost him. And again, it was past trauma and wounds from my past relationship, especially like from my child's father. And so I came into this situationship with the same trauma or the same expectations. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I had this get him or get got type of mentality when I did that whole ghosting situation. So long story short, I was dealing with this guy and he had me on the emotional roller coaster. When I tell you, I don't recommend long distance relationships involving sex. Don't. It's not. it's bad. It's because if y'all get into it, it's like, nigga, I can't even get to you if I want to. Like, I mean, I could, but it's like you ain't like in the city. You ain't in the same city. You ain't even in the same state. So it's like, but yeah, we had like a lot of time. Like, it was gonna take a half a day to get to him if I was trying to, you know, pull up on some BS. So anyways, so was dealing with this guy, pretty much started going through like this toxic back and forth. Oh, I cut you off. I cut him off. He cut me off. Like, so just toxic. And then we get back together and we have great sex. Like, just toxic. You know what I'm saying? Toxic. And so I could never go past a certain point. Like, I couldn't go past like a week or 2 weeks without talking to him. Like, one of us would break the contact and then be back at it again. And it's like, it was a very strong stronghold. And so, like I said, during this whole time, God kept pretty much warning me, talking to me, and just telling me, like, you know, like, leave this person alone. But then God started revealing certain things to me about this particular person and started telling me to pray for them and start coming at this person from a spiritual standpoint rather than a fleshly standpoint. And so I started doing that towards the end, right? Towards the end, before I went through the process of pretty much losing everything, I started like doing stuff like that. And so, August of, no, July. So July of 2023, okay, I had went out of town for my birthday to this particular individual's house. Like, I went to his state for my birthday or whatever, right? And so to spend my birthday with him. And so God told me not to do that. Okay. And so around this particular time, like, okay, so from the time of 2021 up until 2023, there was times where I got into jams where I had to get like rental assistance, right? Because I wasn't working a job. And not only was I not working a job, I was traveling across the world to go see this guy. We was going any and everywhere. And I didn't care about nothing else but seeing this guy. So it was to the point where all I wanted to do was see him. And and when I would go to see this particular person, I'm missing out on money. I wouldn't even care. It's like, I don't care. Like, I would do that when I get back. So I was just like in this very wasteful living type of mentality. And honestly, I thought God was going to bail me out because I was so used to him bailing me out any other time. And so I made a video before talking about how I had really bad money management, and sometimes my priorities would be messed up. I'm sure I'm not the only one, because y'all be on social media living a lie, okay? And so sometimes I want to do what I want to do, and I want to pay bills later. Like, it has been times where I have done stuff like that. And so that's not the smart thing to do, but by the grace of God, it always came together when I did ignorant, wasteful stuff like that. And so from 2021 up to 2023, it was times where I was behind a month on my rent, a month and a half. And I would go to get assistance, and right in the nick of time, it's like literally like God would place things in my path to help me to get up out that jam, right? And so because he placed me in this particular place, like I said, I made a video about it before. And so when God sends you to a place or tells you to do something, he will provide the provision and the way, right? He will provide he will be the provider in the situation. But in this particular case, I was being disobedient, not listening to God, and he kept sparing me. He did. He kept sparing me all the way up until 2023. And when 2023 came, I never forget, I went out of town for my birthday. The day that me and my baby, because my baby went with me, because I took him after I went visit the guy that I was dealing with. I ended up taking my baby somewhere, you know, to have a time with him. But anyways, I literally was walking out the door. Now, one thing I'm going to do is milk the government, okay, for some assistance. That's one thing I learned from my mama growing up, okay, because we was poor and we was living in shelters, all type of stuff. So I learned from her how to milk the government. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but whatever. And so I had got some LIHEAP assistance, and they had paid my light bill and my gas bill for me, right? This was like earlier in 2023. So I'm like, oh, my light bill, gas bill, they had gave me like over $1,000 to put down. So I had a credit. So that's what I thought. And so now this is months later. I went to LIHEAP like around March. And then here we go in July 29th is when I was leaving to go out of town. Bro, when I tell y'all, I was walking out the door, had my suitcases and everything, me and my baby situated, we leaving out, and the power just cut off. So I'm like, what? So I look outside, I'm trying to see, is anybody else lights off? And I called the light company, and then they was like, you know, your services have been suspended, woo out the bam. And I'm like, oh my God, like, Lord, I had just went grocery shopping, y'all. It was summertime, it was hot. I'm like, my food is finna go bad. And Lord, what is going on? So I called, and they was like, oh, you have a balance of woo woo. And I said, but I use, you know, I had got some assistance, and it was supposed to be paid up. And so that's when the lady was telling me, oh, well, they only gave you partial and woo woo. So when I called the place that I had went to, they pretty much was like, oh, we couldn't pay the whole thing because they pretty much made a mistake and didn't do what they were supposed to do and only applied partial credit and did not cover my whole bill. So I had no idea that I was still due for suspension of services. And so I had already knew again that I was not supposed to be going out of town, let alone going out of town to go see this particular person, because God had kept telling me over and over again, like, you need this person is distracting you, you need to get back to me, but I was not listening. And so I was pissed. I'm talking about I'm going off on the people. And so I called the light bill company, and they pretty much worked something out with me to where I was able to get on this payment plan. It was like a plan through the actual light company, but nonetheless, they put me on a plan that was very feasible regardless of the balance that was due, and they ended up restoring my services. So my lights came back on about 20 minutes later, well, 30 minutes later. And then I proceeded to leave. So I still left, went out of town or whatever. And I kid y'all not, when I was out on my way out of town, when I got there, I heard God say clearly. Because again, I was behind on my rent at that time, like by like a month or so. And no, it wasn't a month yet, but I was behind. And so I'm like, I'll just pay it when I get back. Again, steady thinking it's a game. Steady taking the grace for granted. And even like the leasing office, they were so like, they were so lenient with me. Like they really were. Because I was there for like some years, you know, and I was a great tenant regardless of, you know, whatever. But it was just sometimes I didn't pay my rent on time, or I was late. And so I heard God say clear as day, if you go out of town, you're gonna lose, like you're gonna get an eviction notice. No, I'm lying. He said if I went out of town, I was pretty much gonna lose my place. And so I went out of town, and I kid y'all not, I was out of town. I got an email from the leasing office the next day that after I arrived, the next day I got a letter, and the letter said, we will not be renewing your lease, non-renewal. And I'm like, what? So now like, so at the time when I moved out there, my credit was good. It was decent. You feel me? Decent enough to get out there because it was a really nice place. And so now I'm just looking at the whole situation as a whole, like, Lord, my credit ain't worth nothing right now, because I have been staying there for almost 4 years, and I didn't need my credit. And when I left my job, like credit cards and stuff that I had, I pretty much had lost those credit cards because I had to choose my bills over, you know, I had to choose what was more important. So of course I'm paying my rent, my light bill, and things like that before a credit card. You know what I'm saying? Especially if I don't have, especially when I don't have reliable income coming in all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't no job. Like, I'm an independent contractor, so I'm working when I want to, but I can only gain what's available to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know how the Uber apps and all that stuff be. Everybody trying to do it. So it's like real thin. It's stretched real thin. You know, crabs in the barrel type of thing. Everybody trying to grab the same thing, and it ain't enough to go around. And so, but it's not like, you know, I had like a consistent income coming in around that time. And so, I didn't care though. I was just like, okay, Lord, well, I'll worry about that when I get back. Because I'm out of town. Thugging with my rounds, right? Living my best life. And so I ended up going back home. When I went back home, I felt like God wanted me to go to the leasing office to try to talk to them, right? But I didn't. I just was like, well, I'll just wait. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I could, you know, ask them later if they could still renew my lease. So time is going on now. Time is going on. Time is going on. And so now I'm trying to play catch up on my rent. And so here we go again. My lover boy wants to see me. He asked me to go out of town with him somewhere, to Colorado. And so what did I do? You got it. I pounced my little butt right on over. Right on over there. And so when I went out of town with him to this particular place, I'm like, Lord. Okay. So I ended up going out of town. And when I went on this particular trip with this guy, I heard God say, that's when I heard him say that I was about to lose everything. And that I was going to get an eviction notice. Because like I said, at this time I was behind. Now it ain't even a month no more. Like, I don't know what it was at that time. It's probably like a month, 2 months almost at this time. Because I was trying to catch up. But it got to the point, y'all, where the little apps I was using, Uber, everything started drying up. Like, okay, and I missed the thing. I left something out because I kind of went left with the whole dating this particular guy thing. But, y'all, I was renting, so I ended up putting my truck in a garage, right? And because I had some suspension work that needed to be done with me constantly driving this car, doing, you know, Uber and stuff like that. Like, I needed to get, like, my control arm or something like that fixed. And so I didn't want to keep driving my truck like that with passengers. And then they've been and told Uber, like, oh, her car was shaking when she went over a certain speed or whatever. So I ended up putting my car in the garage to preserve it. You know what I'm saying? And until I can get it fixed. And so from that point, I ended up renting a car through Uber. Now, I had a Tesla. I rented a Tesla in 2021. It's when I first got, was it 2021? Yeah, it was like towards the end of 2021. Was it 2021? No, it was 2022. So I ended up getting a Tesla because Uber was running a special. Oh, if you get a Tesla, your ride to be a little more expensive. Like, you'll get more pay for an electric car. So I ended up getting a Tesla. And I rented that Tesla for about 7 to 8 months, okay? Baby, I was paying, I want to say $2,300 a month. So let's just rewind. So I don't want to make it seem like I got into this whole just off the strength that I was going out of town to see this guy all the time. And he was coming to see me too. So it ain't like it was just one-sided. Like, I seen him when he came, you know, when he came to visit me as well. But I like to go away. So I was going away a lot. You know, whenever he wanted to see me, I was going. So anyways, just need to hear her there. So it really, that wasn't the only reason why I got into that hole. The real reason was when I went and got that rental through Uber. Now, mind you, around this time, my rent is going up every year, right? So around this time, my rent was about close to $2,100, right? Because I got a garage now. And the garage is $100 extra or whatever like that. So, but my rent was like around $2,000 without the garage, right? So I ended up getting the garage, putting my car in the garage, and then I'm renting this Tesla monthly for about $2,200-$2,300 after tax, charging, and all of that, right? Charging the car. Because the charging was going directly to the Tesla account, which was going to Hertz, because that's who the car was being rented through. So I was renting this car for about 7-8 months. So boom, I'm paying $2,200-$2,300 for the car. My rent is $2,150, not including light, gas, car note, all this other stuff, right? So that's really why I got into a place where I was in a hole, because I was pretty much in the rat race trying to pay for this car, pay for my rent. And then, so I ended up switching the Tesla for a different, I tried to go get like a gasoline car because the whole charging thing was a headache. But I ended up going to try to switch to get a different car through another rental place, and ended up getting stuck with an electric car still. So I ended up having an electric car for a whole year. So I was renting a car for almost 2 years. Not as though I didn't have my own. Like, my truck was in the garage chilling. Okay, I had a vehicle. But it had got to the point where I was so used to being in these brand new electric cars, it got to my head like, oh baby, this is my car. Like, it got to the point where I didn't even want to let the car go. Even when it was hurting me and putting me in the jam, it was like a pride thing. Like, oh man, I'm driving it now. Everybody used to seeing me in it now. I don't even want to give it up. And it really wasn't even about the people. It was just the feeling of just being in that brand new 2023, especially a Tesla. Now, I won't recommend, okay, because I don't like electric cars. I done been in electric cars for almost 2 years, so I know the game. I know the game with Tesla. I know the game with Kia, because the other electric car was a Kia truck, okay? And so them charges is a freaking headache. So here it is. I'm out here doing Uber for umpteen hours. Now I got to go charge for 2 hours at a time. Sometimes 4-5 hours. Because you got to wait for a charger. A whole headache. And so I wasn't making profit. I was really just paying for the car. So it was months when I was able to pay my rent, and then it was months when I couldn't because I'm paying for this car. You feel what I'm saying? And then I'm going out of town to go see a man about a horse. You feel what I'm saying? And so I'm getting ready to go drive to get my baby, but I'm gonna take y'all with me because I'm not finna be doing no part 2s and all that stuff. Hold on. So I'm gonna take y'all with me. So 1 second. Make sure I got my keys. And y'all don't let me forget where I left off, as if I'm going live. I'm just playing. All right, bear with me, y'all. Do not be looking up my nose. I hope I don't got no boogers. Where is the camera? Okay. Hold on, y'all. Taking y'all on a trip. Let me situate myself, y'all. I don't know if this is gonna stay up, but I got a draft. So I'm gonna try to keep it from falling. Turn it down for they try to flag my video. Y'all, I'm trying to prop my phone up. Hold on. Okay, I got my sweater right here. Okay, and so, okay, let me try this. Okay, I'm gonna sit right here until I get to where I'm going. And so, I pretty much was trying to maintain renting this car. I'm driving this car and using this car like it's my own car, which I had all right. I was paying, pretty much $400, a little over, well, for the Kia truck, I was paying like $450 a week. And then for the Tesla, baby, I was paying close to $600 for that Tesla a week. And I know y'all probably like, girl, you crazy as heck. I would never did that, you know, blah blah. But you know, at that time, you know, at one point in time when I first started renting the vehicle, it was working out. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was able to maintain it, and I didn't care how expensive it was because I was able to maintain it. But then again, when I was pretty much doing what I wanted to do, you know, having sex with this guy, having a good time, traveling the world, putting God on the back burner, and like, yeah, God started to drain that thing up. Like, when I tell y'all I would go out to do Uber and it was just not making sense. Like, I was not making nowhere near the amount of money that I would normally make, you know. And so, let me put this down because this iPad is super big and I don't need nobody else in my business and in my face. And so, now this was around, okay, so boom, I went out of town. The last time I went out of town with this guy, God told me that if I was disobedient and went out of town with this guy anyway, after he told me not to, because I knew I was finna go get flipped and tossed like a pancake on the grill, on the what you call them grills that go on the stove? Yeah, I was finna go get flipped and tossed like a pancake at the Waffle House. Like, absolutely, I was. And I was not listening to God. I was deliberately disobeying him, like Simba did, Mufasa. And so, I went out of town, and I kid y'all not, I came back, and I want to say around this was in September. So towards the end of September, I received a letter stating that they were filing an eviction on me. And so this was not the first time, right? This was not the first time that I had been in a predicament as to where I was behind by a month or two. And like I said, I had gotten rental assistance or whatever. And when I did, God worked that situation out. You feel what I'm saying? Like, he literally worked the situation out. As to where when I needed the assistance the first time. Now, this was before, I want to say this was before I had met this guy. Yeah, this was before. Was it before? I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. But the first time I had got rental assistance at this particular place, God, like, he looked out for me. Like, God literally made it to where my rent was able to be paid up. They paid the back rent on top of paying me. They paid me 4 months ahead. So they paid the back rent and paid me 4 months ahead. And so, why would y'all let that car? Hold on, y'all. It's my road rage starting to activate. Give me 1 second. because it's like, what is we doing? Every day, y'all, I be asking God, why here? Why? I can't wait to reveal to y'all where and how God pretty much revealed to me how this is where he wanted me to come, and how I literally fought God. Like, what? No. Once I started like realizing like this is where he wanted me to come, I'm like, Lord, there is no way, no way this is where you're calling me to go. But you know, whatever. I'm about to fall off the road, fly off the road, y'all. So okay, so they ended up filing for eviction on me, right? And so I'm like, Lord, come on, man, God, I know you're not finna do me like this. So now, of course, when we need him, what we do, we run to him, we cry to him, we call to him, Lord, please, please help me, right? Like he a genie or something. God's sick of that. Don't go after God when you need him. Like, be there all the time. Be there for the good, the bad, the ugly, and the sad. God ain't no genie, man. He ain't finna be digging you out of everything that you can put yourself into. And so that's where I was pretty much in this place where I needed God to get me out of the mess that I put myself into, okay? And so here it is. They filed eviction on me, and I'm like, Lord, now I know you was not finna allow me to lose this place, which I know God had blessed me with this place back in 2020. And so I'm like, Lord, I know you're not finna allow me to lose my place. Like, please, please, Lord, I don't want to have to go stay with nobody. You know, of course, the shame and embarrassment and all that stuff started kicking in, right? And so, all right, y'all, I'm here. And all that stuff started kicking in or whatever. And I'm like, okay, Lord, what is it? What we gonna do about this? And so I'm praying and I'm believing that God is gonna work it out, because he had been working it out. You know what I'm saying? He had been working it out all that time, all those years. And I just felt in my heart that he wasn't gonna do it this time. And when I say he wasn't gonna do it this time, I mean that he was not going to allow me to stay there anymore. Like, that door was closing at that particular place. Not only because I put myself in that position, but also because God had better plans, and that was to, again, uproot me and move me out of the state of Illinois, period. And so we'll get into that in another video, but I'm just trying to let y'all know how everything pretty much got to the point that it is now. And so, oh, I forgot, y'all. I left something out. I'm gonna make a separate video for that. Don't worry about it. I'll make a separate video for that. And so, I'm gonna just say it briefly. So, during this whole time I was dealing with this particular guy, like I said, like, I was on an emotional roller coaster. Most times when me and him would fall out, and like I said, we was long distance, I would just be mad at the world. Like, I would just get into this very depressive state, and I don't even claim depression, but when I tell you I used to be sad, like, I had never met a person that gave me a run for my money. And when I say gave me a run for my money, like, make me sit and think about what I did, even if they deserved it. Like, this person, okay, anyways, so I had got locked up, y'all. I had got locked up in 2022. And the only reason why I'm saying that now is because I'm a tad together with me when I moved out of my place. Okay. And so I got locked up October 22nd of 2022. And when I got locked up, bro, I felt like a failure. I'm like, Lord, like, come on, bro. Getting locked up, and the fact that I got locked up for battery, assault and battery. Now, mind you, I'd been locked up 3 times before, and they was all for the same thing, assault and battery. Well, one of them was battery and property damage. And then the first one was for assault and battery. And then the second one was for battery. I mean, the third one was for battery and an ordinance for like a disturbance because it was at a public place or whatever. So I ended up getting locked up, y'all, in 2022 for battery, for my anger. And this particular day, I was mad at the guy that I was dealing with to the point where it shifted my whole mood. And I was like, don't talk to me, don't say nothing to me. Like, I was in one of them type of moods. And then I crossed this lady that was very racist and rude, and yeah, it ended up going there. So again, I would do a separate video maybe. But so now I done got locked up. I'm going down the rabbit hole. I'm going backwards. I'm out here getting flipped like a pancake, folded like a pretzel. God steady warning me, steady telling me, Tiara, you're getting too far. You're getting too far. Come back. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, well, Lord, I'm having fun. I don't want to come back. Baby, I was the prodigal daughter. Do you hear me? Like, I wasn't trying to hear God at that time. I'm like, man, listen, Lord, I know if I come back to you, I'm going to have to let him go. And I don't want to. Like, I'm having a good time. And so they gave me the eviction notice. And I pretty much started going through that process. And like I said, I'm stressed out. But I'm like believing that God is going to work the situation out regardless, right? And so, again, that door closed. I ended up having to move. Now, I did get approved for assistance through the state. I did. I got approved again. They was willing to pay it up. And they was willing to pay the back rent and pay me ahead again like they did before. But the complex that I was staying in, they chose not to accept it. They was just like, no. They said that they're not able to accept it because I was late on my rent too many times throughout the whole duration, not just that year, but throughout the whole 4 years that I was staying there. They said that you were only able to be late 3 times, and they said I had pretty much exceeded that time. And they was just like, yeah, we're not willing to move forward or accept the assistance And then they learned also that I did not have a job, and I was pretty much a gig worker. And so although I had been doing that since 2021, and they didn't realize this until October of 2023, they still wasn't willing to take the chance. But again, that wasn't nothing but God closing the door, because I was approved for the assistance, but it was just time for me to leave that chapter and close it. And so, y'all, when I tell y'all, I was trying so hard to do things in my own strength. Like, when I tell y'all, it had got bad. It got to the point where I was getting in touch with all the car crackers, all the car crackers, the finessers. I'm trying to do bank stuff. Like, bro, it was bad. Like, I was thinking about, I had even got in touch with people who was doing CPNs, because I did not want to have to face the embarrassment of, oh, Tiara lost her place. Like, how you lose your place? Or, oh, Tiara got to go stay back with her daddy, or she got to go stay with a family member. Like, I didn't even want to have to go through that. Like, that whole depending on somebody thing. Because, like, I've been on my own since I was 19. And I've had people see me when they thought I was supposedly down. One thing for sure, two things for certain, though. I always get back on my feet. Like, I'm a hustler by nature. I've always had nice things. And growing up, it's been so many people that I know have preyed on my downfall and wanted to see me fall and didn't understand me and thought I was just this nasty person. Was she mean? She this, she that. Whole time, I was dealing with the loss of my mother when I was younger. Like, you know, I had a lot of rebellion to me because of things that I had experienced in life that just naturally put this chip on my shoulder. And so when it got to this point where I was going to have to lose my place, I'm like, Lord, not you finna embarrass me publicly to where everybody gonna know my business, because I'm finna have to move and find somewhere to live. When I tell y'all, I was trying to find ways to get rich quick. I'm talking about going down a path of destruction. I'm like, hey, I'm calling everybody. I'm hitting people up on Facebook like, hey man, you know somebody that do bank stuff, that do this, that do that, and like I'm literally hearing God like, what are you doing? Like I was going literally down a path of destruction. And so this was still like around October of 2023, a couple of months ago. Because I'm like, Lord, I'm not finna be out here bogus like that. And so I even reached out to a family member, my cousin, asked if she could put a place in her name for me. Because I didn't, again, want to have to depend on nobody and be in that place where of embarrassment as to where everybody found out that I lost my nice place. Right? And so that pride. And so when I tell y'all wasn't none working, the finesses wasn't working. My cousin even the cousin who was trying to put the stuff in her name, stuff started going wrong with her to where she couldn't do stuff. She couldn't even do it for me. She couldn't even put the place in her name for me. And I had found a bunch of places. And then I had found, I was applying all over the place, mind you. I was applying all over the place. And I had found a couple of houses. And I met some nice people during this process. And I started being honest with people and telling them like, oh yeah, I had to move out of my place because I went through a hardship and I fell behind on my rent. Woo. Like, and again, I'm getting to that in another video. But I ended up crossing people during this time that was really a blessing to me. And like, I didn't get the place because somebody else was more qualified than me. But people just like complimented me on how if they hadn't had other tenants, they would have gave me the opportunity, but they wanted to keep in touch with me and pretty much spoke on how like I was just like such a beautiful person with a great personality. And so God allowed again for that stuff to happen. He allowed those doors to be closed. And these were like private owners too. Like these wasn't like no big realtor companies. These were people who owned the houses and just wanted to rent their house out. Because at this point, I'm like, I want to rent a house. If now I have to get another place, I want to rent a house. And so I had my cousin making check stubs, lying, saying that I worked for her because I was so worried about being denied or being rejected because I was a gig worker, because I was doing Uber and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so, nothing was working out, y'all. Nothing was working out. Like, I couldn't get no place. My cousin couldn't get no place for me. And God was just closing those doors because God was, again, trying to grasp my attention again. And he'll hurt your feelings to save your life. So he allowed me to dig myself into a hole. But even in that, he still gave me grace. Even in that, he still loved me in spite of. Even in that, he still provided in a way as to where I came out with no burns. You feel what I'm saying? Like, nobody knew nothing about what I was going through. So I ended up moving out of my place. And the reason why I told y'all about me getting locked up, I got locked up October 22nd of 2022. My move out date upon the courts was October 22nd of 2023. And I did not realize it until I was pretty much finna move out of state, which was in February of this year. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like, I literally moved out the day that I got locked up a year ago. Because when I got locked up, I'm like, Lord, I done really went backwards. Getting locked up is crazy. Now, it was a blessing that I ain't have to be... Okay, I'm getting to another video. So, moved out of my place as agreed, agreed I moved out of my place as agreed through the courts. And so even in that, even though I had to go through that eviction process, y'all, God still blessed me even in that. And so again, I'm gonna get into that in another video. I'm gonna make another video about how God will provide through the wilderness. That's gonna be a whole nother video, because I have to break down, even while going through this process, how God still had his hand on me, how God still provided even in my ignorance, and how when God opens the door, no man can shut it. And when God shuts the door, no man can open it. Like literally, like God shut that door. But when he shut that door, he made sure that it was less painful as possible. It was not really, I didn't really have to toil or struggle like y'all would think. Like when I went to court, bro, look, God is good. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna get deeper into depths about the whole eviction process and all that I had to go through, because like I said, God is good. But so I ended up moving out of my place October 22nd, and from there, this particular woman that stayed in the complex as well, she was the lunch, she made the lunch for my baby's school. But it was a restaurant on the premises of this place, but she made the lunch for the school before she opened her restaurant, because the restaurant was downstairs from the school. And so she had helped me move out. Now mind you, during this whole process, she had to move out of her condo into a smaller unit, which was still in the same complex. And so I volunteered to help her. And I didn't even really know her like that. I mean, I seen her in passing when I would drop my baby off and we'll speak or whatever. But I offered to help her, and she was like trying to pay me and stuff. And I'm like, girl, no, like I know how it feels to need help, and you know what I'm saying, and not have it. So like, you don't have to pay me anything. Like I do it for free. And so I ended up helping this lady move for free. And then on top of that, before I ended up knowing that I was even going to lose my place, for sure, when I thought God was going to get me out that jam, God placed it on my heart to literally help this lady with her restaurant, because she needed help. But she had this selfish mentality. Like she didn't want to hurt nobody, because she felt like she didn't make enough, or she didn't want money that she was having come in to have to go out to other people. So she literally would struggle and do the work by herself to prevent from hiring somebody, right? And so I had noticed that, and God placed it on my heart to start helping this lady with her restaurant, and I was doing it for free. Now she like, why is you doing this for me? Like, let me pay you something. I'm like, no, you good. Like, I would do it for you for free. And so when people would come in and ask for like bottles of water, cause like it was in the community center of the complex. So of course you got the gym room in there. You got a basketball court in there. You got the weight room in there. You got my baby school upstairs. So like people will come and do tournaments, and it would people come asking for like water, like, can I get a water? And she was like, it's $1. And they were like, oh, okay, can I use my card? No, you got to spend it. So she like had this whole selfish type of, I got to get my buck by any means type of mentality. And so she was denying people for purchasing water because they weren't spending over $1, and she didn't want to run her machine because the machine charged her for charging the machine, if that makes any sense. And so God was using me to pretty much teach her how to give. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can you have a restaurant, or how can you build something in the name of God, or you feel like God gave you this idea to start this restaurant, but yet you're not using it to get his glory? Like, what's $1? You know what I'm saying? And then, so God used me to pretty much show her how to not be selfish, because again, I was working for her for free. And so during this whole process, I was still staying in my place. And so when I found out I had to move, I literally moved my stuff into storage the day of. Like, I got the storage the day of also. Like, I was not prepared, because I really thought in my heart that I was going to be able to get another place. But literally, I was getting denied left and right. Applications was getting denied. Application fees getting ate up. And then, like I said, my cousin claimed that she had some stuff going on to where she couldn't put the place in her name no more. And again, that was just God blocking and closing that door. He didn't want me to get no place in Illinois. He wanted me to uproot and leave Illinois. He wanted me to leave. And I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that until February of this year. I'm thinking I'm finna stay in Illinois and I'm getting a house in Illinois. No, God said, no. You need to leave Illinois. That chapter is closed. And I never, anybody that know me for real know that I've never wanted to move out of the state. I didn't have no plans to move. I didn't have no place. You know how some people are like, oh, I can't wait to move. I want to move to Texas. I want to move here. I've never been the type of person that had a desire to live anywhere but in Illinois. I didn't even want to move to the suburbs when I moved to the suburbs. That was a big step for me. I thought I was going to be on the west side of Chicago for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? So I was helping this lady with her restaurant for free. And so when I ended up pretty much realizing that I was not going to get a place and that I was going to have to either stay with somebody or get like a motel or stay in an extended stay, she offered me to so when I was moving out of my place and moving everything into storage, she offered to allow me to stay at her house for a couple of days if I needed to. And so I didn't want to, of course, because I didn't know this lady living conditions or nothing like that. And I don't like living with people, period, anyways. Like, I don't, that's not a thing for me. But I ended up taking her up on the offer. I had to drop my pride, and I took her up on the offer. And so I ended up staying with her for a couple of weeks. But I noticed that she really wasn't doing it out of genuineness. I think she more so did it because she felt like she had to. Because I was helping her with her restaurant for like a whole month, a month and a half before I had even known that I was going to need her. And I think she really allowed me to stay there because she felt like she had to. Like, she was doing me a favor because of a favor I did for her. And that wasn't even the case. I genuinely was helping her because God had led me to do that for her. And so, but God uses people. He used me in that time to show her some things. But around, I want to say November 15th, God allowed something to happen to where me and her bump heads, and like she was like pretty much trying to mother my child. Like, she pretty much showed her true colors that she really didn't want me to be there. And I wasn't going to be there. My plan was not to be there long, right? I was only there for like a couple of weeks. But it was a situation that happened as to where she raised her voice at my son. And I was like, and mind you, at this point, I didn't pick my cross up and I'm fasting and I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm finna start reading the Bible. I'm about to cut this now. I done cut. At this point, God had had me send this particular guy that I was dealing with this very long heartfelt message, and I pretty much closed that door. Like, I gotta let you go. Like, God is sending me on this path of new, and he didn't know nothing about anything. He didn't know that I had lost my place. He didn't know nothing. I didn't tell this guy nothing about what I had going on because I was actually embarrassed. And I thought he was going to look at me a certain type of way. So he hadn't even known that I wasn't even paying my rent at a particular time. He didn't know nothing about no eviction notices. He didn't know nothing about no non-renews, nothing. He didn't know none of this. Like, I'm just going out of town with him. He coming to my house, and I'm pretty much just like acting like I'm living my best life. You feel me? Like, I literally was like not telling him anything of what I had going on. And so, when I had moved in with this particular person, when I first had moved out of my place, God had me to pretty much close that chapter with the guy and let him know, like, you know, I'm on this path to righteousness, and I love you too much to pretty much send your soul to hell. Like, I'm not gonna keep entertaining lust with you. Like, I wish you the best. And I kind of left it at that. And you know, it hurted, but I had to do what I had to do because I was obeying what God wanted me to do. And so I went through this pruning process, and like, God just started showing me certain things and had me forgiving certain people, and, you know, it hurted, but I had to do what I had to do because I was obeying what God wanted me to do. And so I went through this pruning process, and like, God just started showing me certain things and had me forgiving certain people, and, you know, it hurted, but I had to do what I had to do because I was obeying what God wanted me to do. And so putting me in like very uncomfortable situations, but it was very necessary because I needed to make some of these wrongs right. And so around this time, my sister was like offering me to come stay with her, and I did not want to go stay with my sister because, for one, like I said, pride. I'm like, man, I don't want to stay with nobody, let alone go stay with my sister. Like, how I go from having all this to now being at my lowest. Like, it was a very embarrassing feeling. Like, I was embarrassed like a mug. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Like, I'm over that now, because I mean the cat is out the bag. But I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed, and I was angry with God at one point. Like, Lord, why would you do this to me? But I did it to myself. But like, he could have stopped it, but you know what I'm saying? He had to do what he had to do to get my attention. He had to do what he had to do to get my attention, because I was far. I mean, I was acknowledging God. Like, God is in my heart always, but like, I was running from God because I knew that if I would have did what God wanted me to do, I would have had to let that guy go, and I wasn't on that type of time. I was not trying to stop dealing with him. I'm like, no, Lord. Because I know if I go down this route, he ain't going to be trying to deal with me, because he going to be convicted. He going to be like, nah, go on over there with that holy stuff. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have had nothing to talk about with him at that point. I ain't giving him no coochie. No, I'm just being for real though. But y'all, so yeah, I ended up going to stay with her, and then that fallout happened when she thought she was finna talk to my son like he was her child. I ended up at that point going to stay at a place called Wood Spring Suites. It's an extended stay place. It got a kitchen, little kitchenette up in there, whatever like that. And so God had led me. God had put this place in my path when I was looking for an apartment, before I even knew that I was gonna have to lean on anybody, right? And so when I seen this particular place, I'm like, ugh, what is this? Like, this is a studio? Like, I don't even finna, you know. And they wanted like $2,100, bro, for this extended stay motel place. And I'm like, Lord. And it's not the extended stay America either. It was Wood Spring Suites. And so I'm like, Lord, I ain't finna stay up here. But whole time, God had put that in my path then, because he knew that's what he was trying to send me eventually. And so when I got into it with the lady, God literally brought that back to my remembrance. And I said, ooh, where that screenshot at? And so I found the screenshot. Okay, I gotta get some gas. I turn my car on, start running my air. Because my baby, I've been sitting here for so long. I got to get here early, though, because the line be so long. The car line, anybody that got kids and they pick their kids up, y'all know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, my gas light just came on. But we about to start moving now because they get out at 2:20. But, yeah, so, when I ended up getting into it with that lady, God told me immediately to go to that particular extended stay place and, inquire about a room. And so I went there, and the man was just like, it'll be XYZ. We got one room available. Like, literally, it was one room available. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take it. And I'm like, I'm going to come tomorrow. And so he put me down for a reservation for tomorrow. But God, like, I ain't tell you to go tomorrow. I told you to go right now. And so when I went back to her house, no, let me rewind. So we had words before she said something to my son. But when I went back to her house, at the restaurant we did, but when I went back to her house later on that night, after going to like look at the extended stay place, which online I'm like but God knew exactly what he was doing when he put that place in my path, because it was brand new. So the floors was nice. Like, you know how you go to extended stay places and they be looking at food, people, it smell like cigarettes. It was none of that with this place. Like, the floors was nice. The rooms looked brand new. Because God knows, like, I'm very picky. Like, I'm not finna put my son in anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? We not finna be staying in no anything. And so it was a brand new extended stay motel place. And so I was very grateful for that. And they had like this little special to where I was able to pay... for the first week I was paying like $199, when normally the price for a week was like I want to say 600 and something, like 600 and something for like a little studio. And so anyways, I had went back to her house thinking that I was going to pack all my stuff up and leave in the morning. And that's when she tried my son, like, was like nitpicking with him. And I'm like, oh yeah, nah, let's go. And so I ended up calling the motel and asked the guy if I can come that night. And he was like, yeah, sure. And I ended up going, and I went that night. And then so from that point on, I was able to really get in God's presence. When my son would go to school, I would get in God's presence and pray to him. And like, I'll be able to cry in peace, you know what I'm saying? Get nobody all over my shoulder. What you crying for? You okay? Because people assume that you cried, oh, it's something wrong. No, baby, I am crying because I am grateful. These are tears of joy. This is tears of thankfulness. Because God, like, literally had his hand on my life, bro. Like I said, even in my ignorance. You know what I'm saying? And so, I went to that place. And I stayed there from November 15th up until February 15th of 2024. And then at that point, God was like, okay, it's time to go to your sister's house. And so I went to my sister's house. And I was at my sister's house I was at the extended stay place from November 15th to January 15th. And then I went to my sister's house from January 15th, 2024 up until the day that I moved out of town, which was February 24th of 2024. And so, yeah, y'all, it's been a roller coaster. It has been a very interesting ride. But again, God will hurt your feelings to save your life. And he will put you in uncomfortable situations to get your attention, because we be putting God on the back burner, bro. And God is a jealous God. Like, he don't play none of that. And he'll still give you grace even in that, even in your ignorance. But it comes a time where he like, all right now. Because when you chose it and he wants you and he needs you for the kingdom, he finna come get you by any means. And I'm very grateful for the grace that he has given me. And I don't deserve it. None of us do. And we need to really be thankful and praise God, because we really don't deserve it. And so I'm going to sum it all up, because I don't normally do videos in front of my son. And so that is pretty much what was going on from the last time I made a video in 2020 when I started my channel. Or was it whenever I made my last YouTube video before I went on that little long stretch? That's what was going on. I was out there living my best life, my best unsanctified, rebellious life. I was doing what Tierra wanted to do, and I was not trying to hear what God wanted to do, because I was getting flipped like a pancake. And yeah, so anyways, I will come back with a part 2 on how God will provide through your wilderness, and pretty much how God provided for me even while I was going through it. And so I really hope y'all enjoyed this. I know it's kind of all over the place. I hope it made y'all laugh. But be a blessing to somebody today. And don't forget to seek God like never before. Like, he won't steer you wrong. All right, y'all. So y'all have a good one, because I'm pulling up on my baby and I got to get off this tablet. And yeah, thank y'all for watching my video. Have a good day.